and it is 5 p.m. Mountain Time. So that means it's 4 p.m. Pacific, 6 Central, and 7 Eastern because it's Thursday night and I am live. So, yay. Glad to be here. I've seen a bunch of you guys already commenting, letting me know how the weather is where you're at. We're having a really nice day here today. I think it's about 75, maybe 78, something like that. Beautiful sunny skies, just beautiful. And I think if I'm looking, let's see, Linda says it's cool and breezy in Maryland. Cheryl's got 71 in Colorado. Cheryl and I probably have typically same kind of weather. We've got Dolly on here and Patricia and Loretta and Corinne. I think it's Corinne, or is it Karen? Let me know. Karin. I hate it when I say people's names wrong. So if it's Corinne or Karen, let me know. If it's Karen, just type in Karen and then I'll know. Okay. We have Beverly and Nicole. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoy what I have for you today. I have some fun things. At least I think they're fun. And yeah, I totally was going to do something different. And then I decided to wait because the thing I was going to do was more like Christmassy. And it just doesn't seem like Christmas here. I mean, it barely seems like fall, except there's leaves everywhere, you know. But yes, let's see. I see one of my team members. I think I saw my team member Pat on here. I did. Hello, Pat, and Betty and Nancy and Carol and Tracy. So many of you guys. So excited to see you all here. Yay! We are having, of course, it's football night, as you all might know. Well, some of you probably could care less, and I get that. But some of you are probably football fans, so some of you might be watching the game tonight. I believe it is the Eagles and the Giants. Well, the Eagles got beat by the Broncos last weekend, so who knows? I don't really know what the Giants' record is. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think, well, maybe they haven't won any games. I really don't know. Mary Ellen says hello from Billings. She's up in Billings to go to a softball game. Is that what you said? Granddaughter's softball game and then grandson's football game. Well, that's exciting. That's very exciting. Joanne says go Eagles. Sorry, I'm going to have to say go Giants. Actually, I guess I don't care because it's the same division as the Cowboys. Well, the Eagles are better than the Cowboys. Everybody's better than the Cowboys. But I'm going to have to vote for the Giants tonight just because, you know, they're at the top, so they need to get knocked down a little bit so that potentially, maybe, doubtfully, the Cowboys can maybe win some games. I know that sounds really mean, and I'm sorry, but it is what it is. Big Cowboys fan here, even though they're terrible. I've told the story a million times. When I was in the second grade, there was a kid in my class named Russell Richards, and he brought his brother Golden Richards, who was a Dallas Cowboys wide receiver, for show and tell when I was in the second grade. And when it was my turn to go back and meet Golden Richards, he gave us autographs. And of course, I have no idea where that is. I told him my name was Barb, and he said his girlfriend's name was Barb at the same time as at the time that he was dating a girl named Barb. So I was like, oh, pitter patter goes my beating little heart, because he was very attractive back then in the day. He had beautiful blonde hair, and anyway. So that's why I'm a Cowboys fan. Been a Cowboys fan forever. So there you go. Just not as big of a fan right now. No, that's not true. I'm still a fan. Anyways, enough about the football talk. I guess, I hope, how cool to meet. Yeah, it was pretty cool to meet him. Then, of course, he went on the wrong path and got into drugs and stuff, I think. Terrible. And then, there you go. No, I was not a teacher, Linda. I was a second grader. I was in the second grade, and my classmate Russell brought his brother for show and tell. So this was, gosh, how old are you in second grade? Like 7? So this was like 52 years ago. I think the Cowboys were pretty good back then. That would have been in the 70s. So I think they were pretty good back then. So yeah, it was really cool. It was very cool. And so, like I said, I'll never forget that. Isn't that crazy? Some of the things that you just never forget. I will never forget that. Anyways, oh, we've got Kim here from Northern Ireland. Kim, weren't you just watching our Stamp Happy Live last night? So it's like, what, midnight there? Is that, what time, did I get that right? Is it about midnight in Ireland? So glad you're joining us. Let's see. It's like Pat and Amy are chit-chatting about where they live. Yes. Oh, your guys. Oh, that's right. You're both in Ohio. How exciting. Maybe you guys could meet up and do some stamping together. Who knows? Anywho, I'm babysitting my son's dog. He just dropped the dog off about an hour and a half ago, 2.5 hours ago, 2.5 hours ago, final answer. And so we're going to be watching him until Wednesday when he gets off of work. He's gone out of town. His friend goes to college in Brookings, South Dakota. And apparently this weekend there's something called Hobo Days. I don't think it's related to just the college. I think it's like maybe a city thing. I'm not positive. Maybe somebody who lives in Brookings, South Dakota can tell me. But him and his friend are going with his other friend's girlfriend. So the guy that's at school in Brookings, his girlfriend lives here. They all graduated together. So my son and his friend and the girlfriend are all driving to South Dakota to see the other friend for Hobo Days. I can't show you the dog because he's outside. He is a psychopath dog. He's about 1.5 years old, and he is an Australian Shepherd, German Shepherd mix, and he's crazy. If I brought him in here, he'd be running around, and he would just never stop. So when he's here, for the most part, we have him outside. I go out there every couple hours or so and play with him a little bit. He loves to play fetch. So I go out there every couple hours and play ball with him. But for the most part, he stays outside. So he's a very cute dog. He looks mostly like a German Shepherd. I guess mostly. He's got a dark black coat with some brown mixed in a little bit here and there. He's got white paws. He's got the kind of the German Shepherd face. But yeah, he's got lots and lots of energy. He's about 75 pounds, I think. He's a pretty beefy dog. His name is Coca-Cola. And so, yes, that is a high drive dog. He doesn't like to settle down really very much at all. So exactly, they need something to do all the time. So I do try to go out there frequently and play with him because otherwise I think he gets bored. And then he digs holes in my grass, and my husband will lose his mind if the dog digs holes in our yard. So I have to make sure he doesn't do that. So I have to go out there every so often and play with him. So I got the Frosty Paws. If you're not sure what that is, it's a little like ice cream treat made just for dogs. It literally says on the package, humans don't eat this. So it comes in a little paper cup, like a Dixie cup kind of, but it's a little bit fatter, but a little shorter. And I don't know what it is. It's some kind of frozen something. And I give him one every night after when he comes in, because we'll bring him in. He'll come in around like 7 o'clock. And then we watch TV for a few hours, and then he sleeps in our room on the floor. But I give him a little Frosty Paw every night when he's here, and it's just a little cup, and he kind of holds it in his little paws, and he licks it all up. And then he doesn't eat the cup, which I thought he might, but he doesn't. Once he's done licking it clean, then he's done with the cup. So I got the Frosty Paws secured today at the store, so we're good to go until my son comes back. So I hope he has fun over the weekend, Hobo Days, like I think I said. So if anybody's familiar with Hobo Days, that's what it is. All right. Oops, there we go. I can't see your comments. Let's see. Linda has a Boston who is also always busy. Yeah, some dogs are just nuts. And I don't think my son did any research when he got this dog. I think he just heard some people had some dogs for sale. I think he bought it from them. I can't remember. Pretty sure he did. I think he heard these people had some dogs, and so he got one. And so he has a dog. I don't think he knew that it was going to be so high maintenance and so crazy, but it is what it is. Sherry says, oh, wait a second. Oh, Debbie asked Sherry how her son was doing. So Sherry, give us a little update on that. And all right, I think that's it. I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say. My husband's at work. He'll be home. Probably by the time I get done with this, he'll be home. He'll probably go out and play with the dog. I'll make some dinner, and then we'll rush down here to watch the football game. So that should be fun. So I guess since I can't think of anything else that's exciting around here, because I'm always knocking on wood because, it's not really exciting here, but I don't want there to be, bad excitement, if you know what I mean. So neutral and boring is fine. Oh, we did go up to Billings on Tuesday. We drove up to Billings. That's where both of us are from, Billings, Montana. And we drove up there on Tuesday. We got some tires on our truck. We visited my dad, and we visited his mom, and then we had lunch with his mom and his brother's wife. So that was fun. And then we did a little shopping in Costco while we were getting our tires put on. And where else did we go? I went to my favorite cookie place called Chip. If any of you guys have a Chip cookie where you live, my favorite is just the plain sugar cookie with the cream cheese frosting. Oh, so good. So I got some of those. So I was pretty excited about that. So I guess that's one thing that I did do. Not super exciting, but I got out of the house, out of the basement for a day. All right, I'm going to flip this camera and we are going to get busy here. So let's go ahead and see. I have to make sure my stand is adjusted right. We had our Stamp Happy party last night. I think a few of you that are on here were present. I know Kim was. I think Debbie might have been. I think Pat was, and Patricia. So we had our Stamp Happy party last night. It was a lot of fun, as it always is. We had some technical difficulties with Dina's computer dying, and then we had to try to get her back onto the live. And it's never a dull moment when the three of us do anything. But we got it figured out, and we made a really cool card, and we will be mailing out our cards tomorrow. So that's very exciting. Okay, so as you guys may or may not know, we have our Modern Christmas online class going on, and I just remembered that I don't have the link in the description of this video. I'm going to put it in there as soon as we're done. So this is going to be going out at the end of the month, and our online class includes some of the designer series paper, the loose gold sequins, the baker's twine, and a pre-cut package of cardstock pieces to make 6 cards. And then if you want to add on the Modern Christmas Ornamental Christmas bundle, you can. We're also using gold foil that you'll also get some gold foil. So anyways, so that's our class for the month. If you're interested in that, hold tight. I will get the link in the description of this video after we are done. In fact, I'm going to throw this onto my computer so I don't forget. My 12 weeks of holiday ideas. Week 1 went out last Friday. And then tomorrow will be week 2. So if you aren't signed up for this already, there is a link to my newsletter in the description of this video. If you already get my newsletters, if you're already on my newsletter list and you do get my newsletters, you don't need to sign up again. You're already signed up and you will just automatically get this. But if you don't subscribe to my newsletters and you do want 12 weeks of holiday ideas, then definitely subscribe so that you can get those. Let's see. Linda said her nephew has an Australian Shepherd and he is the most laid back dog. Wow. I wish my son's dog was a little more laid back. And then the other Linda says she has a crumble cookie in the next state. Yes, Linda, I also have a crumble cookie. There is one up in Billings, but we didn't go there. We went to the chip cookie instead. Also, in case you weren't aware, which I'm sure you must be if you're watching this, Stampin' Up! Has an amazing, amazing join special going on this month. There's 2 different options. I highly recommend this option, but you certainly could go with this option. This option is you pay $35 plus tax if you have tax in the state that you live in. There are some states that don't have sales tax. $35 plus tax, and you get to choose $125 worth of product, okay? That's an amazing deal because normally our standard deal is $99 is what you pay and you get $125 worth of product. So you're getting so much more product. The other one is you pay $99 plus tax if you have tax where you live and you get $189. Now, the reason I think this is the better deal is because you shell out $35 right away. Then you turn around and you could place an order for more product and you're going to automatically get your 20% discount. Plus you're going to earn Stampin' Rewards on it. You don't earn Stampin' Rewards on the initial purchase of the kit, the starter kit, but orders that you place after you become a demonstrator, yes, you do earn Stampin' Rewards on all those orders, plus you get your discount. Plus then if you only pay $35, that's not really that much, then you can start adding to your quarterly minimum, which is the $300. That's the quarterly minimum. Now, don't freak out about that. If you don't meet that quarterly minimum, you're simply dropped as a demonstrator and no penalties. You keep everything that you've gotten, and there's just no penalties. There really is no downside to joining Stampin' Up! If you are not a demonstrator. Now, I know a lot of you have been demonstrators in the past, so I would love to have you join my team if you're interested. I do have a great team. We are all over the country. We have a monthly team meeting. We do a little bit of show and tell, talk a little bit of business, answer any questions anybody might have. We have a team swap every month that we do. Dina Kelly and I do a weekly training that all of our team members are welcome to participate in if you want. We also have a 75% discount for Stamp Happy Academy once you've placed your first order as a demonstrator. So that's $5 a month. That's pretty inexpensive for the volume of stuff that we offer on Stamp Happy Academy. So I would love to chat with you about this. If you are not sure what you want to do, if you are just sure and ready to go, there's a link in the description of this video. If not, you can email me, barb@barbstamps.com, with any questions you might have, and I am happy to answer them. And I think I've got one of my team members at least on here tonight, and that is Pat. So she can tell you how much fun I am, right, Pat? I'm just kidding. Maybe I'm not that fun. I think I'm fun, but there you go. Also, we still have some Advent kits left from what I understand. And so if you're interested in getting that Advent calendar kit, it's still available. I still have not opened mine. I honestly cannot believe that I've waited this long to open it, but I haven't opened it yet. So I'm not sure if I'm going to make it till December. It's doubtful, but I haven't opened it yet. So if you're interested in getting one of these, you can get this in your starter kit if you want. It's a $99 value, but you can get it for $35, plus you can get $26 more in your starter kit if you want to do that. So the starter kit is still the absolute best deal that we have. All right. If you do just place orders with me, I appreciate that so very much. In fact, so many of you have placed orders with me over the years that you helped me achieve my $1 million in sales. Disclaimer, less than 0.1% of demonstrators reach that sales goal. Okay, done. If you order from me, any order up to $35, you will earn Stampin' Rewards from Stampin' Up! And you'll get my monthly PDF, which happens to be the Modern Christmas. Now, these cards are not going to be in our class. So this is going to be additional ideas that you will get from me. If you happen to purchase our online class and then you order in my online store, you will get different ideas. Wait a second, I just screwed that all up. If you order $20, you get Stampin' Rewards from Stampin' Up! $35, you get to go to the Stamp Happy party that we just did last night that was so fun. Every order in my online store gets this. $50 or more gets another Modern Christmas tutorial. Again, not the cards that are going to be in the class and not the cards that are in this tutorial. So much fun here. All right. In case you are not aware, if you're a first-time watcher to my channel, I have a free download for these little circles that you can put on the end of your Stampin' Blends markers. They're on my blog at barbstamps.com/shop. I think you have to scroll down maybe a couple of pages to find them, but they are there. I have three sets of them. I have the 23, 25 in colors, 24, 26 in colors, 26, 20, 28, 25, 27. I don't know. There's 3 different ones plus all the regular colors. And it's free on my blog. We talked a little bit about Stamp Happy Academy. We did the Stamp Happy party last night, and it was so much fun. So that is a perk of being a member. It's only $20 per month. We all do a live class in addition to the Stamp Happy party every month. We put our online class PDF on the website every month, and then we put the Stamp Happy Party PDF on there every month in case you can't join us live. And then I always have adhesive kits for sale if anyone's interested. You get all kinds of goodies. Do I have one here? I do. All kinds of goodies in a cute little rainbow bag. I have multiple different colors of these bags. They all have the rainbow stripes in them. And if you're interested in that, there is a link in the description of this video. Okay. We are going to get started here. Sherry said the SHA party was an extra hoot last night. It really was. We had so much fun. It was crazy. Okay. So we are going to be, I cannot tell you. I don't get, okay, since I do this is my business, obviously. So I do buy a lot of things to use in my business. And I don't always get a lot of mileage out of everything that I buy. But this stamp set and the coordinating dies that go with it, I have gotten a lot of mileage out of this. And you probably are aware I've used this a lot in my Thursday lives, and I'm going to use it again because, like I said, I was going to go Christmas, but I just can't. It's too nice outside. And so, yeah. So we're going to use this again. We're going to do a technique called Joseph's Coat. I'm sure some of you have heard of this. Some of you maybe haven't, so it might be a new technique for some of you. But we're going to be doing a technique called Joseph's Coat, which is pretty cool. I'm going to be using one little label out of the traditional labels set. This has a coordinating set of stamps also that goes with it. And then my sentiment, I'm going to come out of Peace on Earth. It's going to say with deepest sympathy from my card. Not that I enjoy making those cards, but you have to have them sometimes. I guess I shouldn't say I don't enjoy making them. I thoroughly enjoy making the cards. I don't enjoy the reason why I have to mail it out. Let's say that. Okay, so let me start with some pieces and parts here. I need scratch paper. Oh, that's not going to work. Hold, please. We're going to try to use a small scratch paper. We'll see how it is. So what I have here is I have a piece of white. I'm going to trim this down after I get the whole technique done on it. I just like to start with a little bit bigger piece than I actually want. So the piece that I actually want is 2.5 by 4. That's what it's going to end up being. And then I have a scrap. This has a fold line in it. It doesn't have to have a fold line in it. This is just a scrap that I have, but the way we're making the card, the fold line is going to be covered up. So this is 2 3/4, also by 4. Then I wanted to use some Blackberry Bliss, and I wanted to have a layer on it. Now, you may or may not know, this is some two-tone cardstock. Look at the color difference of this. This is amazing. If you guys ever remember a color we used to have called a Rich Razzleberry, the light side of the Blackberry Bliss two-tone cardstock totally reminds me of Rich Razzleberry. So I thought that would look really cool with my Blackberry Bliss. And I ran this through the Birch 3D folder. So you can see how I've got some nice texture on that. And that's going to be my card base. Okay. So we are going to take this card and we are going to what? We are going to do some blending. That's what we're going to do first. So I'm going to put a little piece of adhesive on here to kind of keep my card layer in place. And then I'm going to bring in 3 colors. I'm going to bring in Old Olive, Pretty Peacock, and Blackberry Bliss. And here are my ink pads. So I'm going to open those. I know, this is a dangerous game I'm playing, opening all these ink pads. We're going to try and see if we can make it happen without making a mess. And then I'm going to bring in some clear blocks, because when I do blending, I like to bring in some clear blocks. It's just how I do it. So I'm going to start with my Blackberry Bliss. So I'm going to get my brush, kind of rub it around on my ink pad a little bit, and then I'm going to bring in a clear block. I'm going to pounce off some of that ink, and then I'm going to kind of rub on it a little bit, just so that it kind of blends in with my brush, so that my brush isn't so harsh when I go to stick it on my paper. And then I'm just going to start adding a little bit of color in a few places here. And then if I come back, I can get a little more ink to maybe make it a little darker. And of course, you can make these as dark or as light as you want. And after I put my brush on there the initial time, after I get the nice soft blend, then I can start pressing a little bit harder to get more ink on there. All right, so we're going to put the Blackberry Bliss aside for a second. We're going to bring in the Pretty Peacock. And same thing, I'm going to dip my brush in there. I'm going to pounce it onto my block to kind of get some of that ink off, and then to kind of work it in to all the bristles. So hopefully that when I touch my paper with it, it's not quite so harsh. And I have a pretty light touch to start out with. Let's see, what do I want to do? Do I want to come down here like this maybe? Sure, why not? So I'm starting out with a fairly light touch. And then after I have a nice little base, then I can start pressing a little bit harder to get more of that ink onto the paper. Okay, so there is my Pretty Peacock. We're going to push that out of the way. We're going to bring in the Old Olive. Do the same thing. Pounce it a little bit, kind of get the ink spread around within the bristles. Okay, and then we're going to come in and we're going to add some of the Old Olive here. And I do want the colors to kind of blend a little bit together. Not so much that they become like icky or something, but just a little bit. Get some more of that Old Olive, and we're going to come in here and add the Old Olive. I think I might need a little bit more. So I'll just tap, 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 rub it a little bit more, tap it, rub it. And here we go. Add a little bit right there. This I need to be a little darker, so I'm going to come in a little heavier handed this time and try to get that a little bit darker. A little darker there, a little darker there, there, maybe there. So now I'm going to come back and grab my Blackberry Bliss, and I'm going to try to darken that up a little bit. So I'm going to bring my block back, tap, 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 tap on that. I think we're good. And we're just going to try to darken that up just a bit. Same with this little spot right here. Try to darken that up. Okay. Then we're going to bring the peacock back in. Tap, tap, tap. Rich Raspberry was a fantastic color. And honestly, this kind of looks like this kind of looks like Rich Raspberry when it's not super dark. It's kind of crazy. Okay, I think that's good. So I'm going to take, now these blocks, I'll just rinse under the sink, rinse the water out or rinse the ink off them, and then I'll just dry them and they'll be good as new. But for now, I'm just going to throw them behind me so that I don't end up, sticking my hand in them or something. All the ink pads I'm going to close up for the moment, and I'm going to use them in my next project. Because after I did this color combo, I kind of got really excited. And so I wanted to make my next card with the same color combo. So I'm going to bring my heat tool in. I want to dry this a little bit. Flip that over just to kind of get the paper to lay back down flat again. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to emboss on this now, and I don't want it to be wet because I don't want it to pick up any of the embossing powders. So we are now going to bring in our stamps. This one has some dust on it. I dropped it on the floor and then I didn't clean it off. So do I have dust on all of these? No, I thought I only dropped one on the floor. Perhaps I dropped more than one. Oops, this one just touched the brush. So now I'm going to have to clean that off because it has ink on it. I should move these brushes out of the way too. There's just too much ink around here. Scary. Okay, all the ink has been transferred to behind me so that it's not going to make a mess. Okay, I've got all the dust off the stamps, and now I'm going to bring in my Versamark. But first, I need an embossing buddy. So here's an embossing buddy. This comes in the Embossing Editions toolkit. This happens to be an older one that I have. And just because I have all this color on here, I didn't want to use my new one just in case I didn't get this dried off enough and the color kind of bled. I didn't want it to get on my bag. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to ink up these stamps, and I'm going to stamp them in a way that I'm going to try to get at least 2 colors at a time when I'm stamping these. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we're going to try. Actually, I'm going to do this instead. So I can sort of see the outline of where my stamp is, like where the Versamark has left a white space, or a shiny space. So I don't know if you guys can see that in the camera, but with the way the light, you can sort of see then where the light hits it. So I can see where these images already are stamped so that I know where to keep stamping. Okay, now I'm not going to be able to get multiple colors every single time I stamp, but we try. Okay. I think I can go right here. And I think I'll bring that big one. And then I think what I might do is I think I might sprinkle the powder on, and we'll see where we're at and see if I need to add some more stamps somewhere or not. So I'm going to bring in my clear embossing powder and my tray, and we are going to sprinkle the powder all over this, so then we'll really be able to see if we need to add any extra. So what I like to do is I just kind of like to tap it, and then that kind of spreads the powder around on the paper and gets most everything covered. So now we can sort of really see. Missed a little tiny spot on that. Oh, looks like I maybe didn't get enough ink on that one. That's okay. So now we can really see where we have our stamped images. And now I can see that I am going to come back in. I'm going to add a little more in some of those spots that I can. I'm going to add some more stamping. So like right here in the corner, I can add something. So we'll go ahead and add that leaf. Down here at the bottom, where we kind of have the pretty peacock, we can add an image there. Right here in between these two, I'll bring in this leaf here. Something like that. Okay. And now I'm going to bring my powder back in. And I'm going to do that same thing, just kind of tap the powder all over it. As you tap it, you can kind of see how it just kind of sticks to where you need it to stick. Okay, I think since I'm going to trim this, like I told you, I made my paper a little bit too big, and I did that on purpose, because when you trim it, sometimes if you can't get, a stamped image in every little spot, you can trim off that excess in that certain spot, and then it doesn't make any difference. But I'm going to just get the edge there, just barely. Okay. So I think this is good. Where are my tweezers? I can't find my other tweezers, so I'm just going to use these. I'm going to bring my heat tool back in. I'm pushing my powder off to the side, because that's the last thing I need is for my embossing powder to go everywhere. And we will now heat these up. Embossing is always so exciting. I see you guys are talking about my funny comments last night. Some of you, Cheryl and Patricia. Whenever I clean off my blocks, if I have to reuse them, I always get them wet when you obviously clean them off. And then I like to spank them until they're dry. And we were laughing about that last night. But it's a good term and everybody knows what it means. All right, we gotta make sure we got all the powder heated up and melted. So I'm just kind of, turning this a little bit at an angle here and there. Okay, I think I got it. Okay. Yes, I think we're good. Okay. So then we're going to put the ink away. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our black memento pad. Now, this isn't initially a black memento pad. Initially, this is a white craft ink pad. It comes to you empty. So when you order this, you get the empty pad and you get the ink. What's special about this pad is it has a squishy surface. It's one of our squishy pads, our foam pads, whereas the regular memento is a linen covered pad that is very hard, right? And I have found that I thoroughly enjoy having my memento in here. So what I did was it came empty. I didn't use the re-inker. I inked it up with memento, and now I have a nice foam pad that is memento. And so because that it's a nice foam pad, when I go to pounce it onto my paper, it pounces so fabulously. Oh, I need a scratch paper. Oh, I have a scratch paper. Because I need to hold on to something while I get the other side inky. Okay, so now we're just pouncing this ink all over the whole thing. And you can kind of already see what's happening here, that the embossed images that have ink under them are going to come shining through this, right? Yes, plus it's a larger surface and it's easier to use. That's what Debbie said, and I totally agree with you, Debbie. All right, so now what we need to do, we just need to wait for the ink to dry on the paper. And now where there isn't any embossing, you can kind of see that it is drying pretty quick. But I might just shoot some heat on it just to make that happen a little faster. Okay, so then you can use tissue paper, toilet paper, paper towels, whatever you have. And we're just going to rub off the ink from these embossed images. And then they become super bright and colorful. So you can see why when I said I was purposely trying to stamp my leaves over more than one color, because that way each leaf has more than one color underneath it. And how cool is that? Like I said, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this technique before. Maybe some of you it's brand new. Maybe some of you forgot about it. But it is super cool and I love it. And with this new memento pad that I have, oh, it just makes this so easy. I'm going to do that one more time just to make sure I get all the ink off of it. And so you're just rubbing the ink off of the embossed pieces. So what do you guys think of that? I think it's fabulous. Okay. All right. I believe it is done. Got some bits over here. So now you can see how beautiful those leaves come through with that color combo, right? So pretty. Okay, so now I'm going to trim it down. So I said I need it to be 2.5 by 4. So that way I can trim it purposefully. So like I can see, like right over here in this corner, I didn't really get any stamped images. I could have, I just didn't notice it, and so I didn't get it. So that's definitely a spot that I might want to trim off. Because then I'll still have all that color. But I also want to be careful because I have this little leaf right here, and I don't want to get rid of all of it because I still want some of it to be there. So I might just trim most of it off, but I still have a little bit there, and then I might flip this over and trim it some more on that side, maybe a little bit. We got to get it down to 2.5, so we may have to come in and just do more than I wanted to right here. But it is what it is. How about over here? And you know what we could do? We'll scooch it just a tiny bit. I can make this a little bit longer if I need to. So maybe I'll just leave that and I can adjust my piece of Pretty Peacock. So, oh yeah, that's still going to work. I just want a little bit of that Pretty Peacock to show on the edges, just for fun. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim some of it this way. And then we'll do the rest over here, I think. There we go. So there, now we have it mostly all covered by trimming it off, and I can go ahead and glue it. So you can see why this fold line doesn't matter. This was like a scrap of something that I was making. I don't even know what I was making. I couldn't tell you, but I didn't need it, and I ended up having a fold line in this. So now we can just leave that fold line there. And so now I have embossed this, and so it's going to be a little bit curly. I don't want it to be curly, so I'm going to make sure that I get glue pretty much all the way around on all the edges here. Okay. And then, like I said, we're going to have just a tiny little sliver of the peacock sticking out because I didn't want to trim off any more of my design. So we had to do that, and that's fine. Okay. Press that into place like it is. All right, so then we're going to bring in our embossed piece of two-tone cardstock, and I'm going to add this kind of right here on the edge. I'm going to leave maybe a 1/2 inch or so showing. And this is a 4 by 5 1/4, if you were wondering. All right, so we're going to do that. And you can do lots of different color combos with this type of technique. In fact, I highly recommend just running through these little things. Like here's a great one here, Balmy Blue, Night of Navy, and Granny Apple Green. I could see that with like party hats or something. I think that would be super cute. Just, pick your favorite color and see what other colors would go with it. And you can try this with all kinds of things. Now, this isn't your typical fall card. I didn't really use typical fall colors when I brought in the peacock and stuff, but I think it's still fall enough. Okay, and then our card base is going to be this beautiful Blackberry Bliss. And again, I'm just going to use some liquid glue, and this is embossed with the embossing machine. So I'm going to do the same thing. I want to get glue all over it. And here we go. Another really cool combination, if you wanted to stick with fall colors, would be Old Olive, Cajun Craze, and like crushed curry. That would be an amazing combination for you. Okay, that's what we have so far. So then, like I said, I'm going to bring in my, where is my, I don't even have one. Oh, yes, I do. I was like, what happened to my label? So as I said, I used the With Deepest Sympathy stamp that came out of the Peace on Earth, this one right here. And then I die cut it with the traditional labels with this little kind of rectangular label here. And look at the detail that puts into your or to your label. I think that's pretty cool. And I'm going to stick this on my card. I'm going to use some dimensionals, I think, to pop that up. All right. And I'm going to put that, and sometimes depending on, let's say you didn't have a whole, like maybe you had a bunch of black space here, you could position this layer on your card so that this will cover up your black space. I mean, if you didn't have a bunch of color there, you can, you can finagle where you actually put this label to kind of hide any imperfections that you might have. So there you go. All right, and then I have a double knot that I tied with old olive thread. We have the old olive and early espresso linen thread, and so I tied a double bow. So now I just need to cut all those ends off, and then we can add our bow on the edge here. I may have to cut some more of those tails. All right, and I'm going to roll this up like a little log, my little glue dot, and I'm going to stick it on the back of my knot, and then I'm going to add that right to the edge there. So that's where we kind of added a little bit more old olive to the card. All right, and now we just need some gems and an inside piece. And I kind of thought these pretty gold, what are these called? Iridescent foiled gems. I thought they would be really pretty on here. So let's go with a small and a large. And then, oh, I guess there's only small. I thought there was medium. There's not. It's small and large. Let's bring another small one. And we're going to put that over here in the black space. And there we go. For the front is now done. I wish I had, what do you call that? Pretty peacock twine. I mean, I could take white baker's twine and I could dye it if I wanted it to be, or if it was a little bit more purpley, but it is what it is, right? Okay, so then for the inside, I just stamped the leaves along the bottom of my inside layer and called it good. In those same colors, the same leaves, and we'll just add this to the inside. Okay, so I'm just looking for equal distance on the three sides, well, how it's positioned, top and bottom, and the edge. I don't care if it meets up here. I just want to make sure that all three of these edges are nice. And they are, and there it is. So that was pretty fun. Here is another piece that I made earlier, just a tiny bit different. This one's a little bit skinnier. As you can see, I was able to trim it off enough. But there you go. And then my first one I did it with Berry Burst, and I didn't really like the Berry Burst. I thought it was a little bit too pink for my liking. So I pulled in the Blackberry Bliss instead of that, and I liked that a little bit better. Not that I don't like this. I think I would like it better if I didn't do it with leaves, maybe. If I had some other design, maybe some roses or something like that, maybe I would have liked it a little bit better, but it is what it is. I don't dislike any of them, but I did like this one a little bit better. So that's why we went with that. Okay, let me clean up just a tiny little bit here and bring in my other bucket of stuff, and we will get on with our next card. So, funny story. After I got done making this card and I did this inside piece, I did some practice strips, because sometimes I like to do that rather than take an entire sheet of white and practice on the whole sheet. Sometimes I'll just bring in, I have a whole bunch of like 1-inch strips of white, and then I can just stamp on those strips and I can lay it down and say, oh, I do like that, or I hated that, and I'll try something different. So I had like 3 of these strips sitting over here on my desk, and they were kind of just in a row, not purposely, just that's how I threw them over on my desk because I was done using them. And I thought to myself, that would make a pretty cool card if I used strips of paper that had these same color leaves on them. So I was inspired by myself to come up with this card. Okay, so we're using the same ink pads, and I have gotten ink on the outside of them, of course, because I am a messy stamper. We're going to use the Gathering Moments dies, and we're going to use the same leaves that we used on the first card. And here are our pieces and parts. So, I've got some stuff all stuck together here. I've got a layer for the inside. This is white, 4 by 5 1/4. I have Pretty Peacock for my card base, 8.5 by 5.5. I brought in two-tone cardstock in Pretty Peacock because I want it to be a little bit lighter, but I didn't really want it to be Lost Lagoon. Let me bring in the Lost Lagoon. Where are you at here? Lost Lagoon was a little bit too light. I didn't want it to be quite that light. I wanted the contrast to be just a little bit different. And the two-tone cardstock is perfect for that. So I have regular Peacock cardstock, and then I have the two-tone, but the light side is what I'm going to use. And this piece is 3 3/4 by 5. And then I have a piece of white that is 3.5 by 3. And we're going to do some stamping on this. So I need a scratch paper again. I need to make some room over here on the side so I can sort of see what I'm doing here. What am I doing here? Okay. So we're going to start out with our Pretty Peacock, and we're going to use the large stamp for this. So I'm just going to ink that up, and I'm just going to kind of plop that almost in the middle, not completely. Then I'm going to bring in this other little leaf here, and we're going to do this in some old olive. And maybe something like that. Then I'm going to bring in my Blackberry Bliss. And we'll add a Blackberry Bliss leaf there. Maybe one, something like that. One kind of at an angle. Start again with my Pretty Peacock. Fill in right there. And I think maybe I will stamp a tiny bit in this corner right here in the Pretty Peacock. Then I'm going to bring in my old olive. And we're going to do something. How do I want to do that? Maybe along the side here. Something like that. And then I want to bring it in maybe like so. Come in with that Blackberry Bliss once again. Add a little guy right there. Maybe just the little top of the leaf right there. And then the Pretty Peacock. I think we'll do a tiny little blurb right there, and maybe right down here at the bottom. We'll just try to get it right on the edge. So I kind of started in the middle, and then I kind of worked my way out with the different colors. I find that to be the best way to go when you're trying to cover an entire surface with anything, is to start in the middle and work your way out. And that way you should be fairly certain that you're not going to have too much white space that one of your stamps isn't going to fit in. And then you're forced to either have them overlap. If you don't want that, that's bad. Or you'll have big white space. So if you start in the middle and kind of work your way out, I find that to be the best way to go. All right, so now I'm going to trim this. So it's 3, so it was 3.5 by 3. I'm going to cut it with the 3-inch side at the top of my trimmer, and I'm just going to cut it into 1-inch strips. Okay, so, and this is a little tabletop trimmer, Stampin' Up! Had these for a while. They were a free gift for people that signed up during what used to be Celebration. And then they sold them, the ones they had left, and now they don't have them anymore. But there is a little trimmer like this you can get on Amazon. I think I have a link in the description of this video to it. It's very, very similar to this. And so if you're interested in a little tiny tabletop trimmer, I can't tell you how much I use that thing, having it sitting right there. Okay, so you want to keep these in order. That's the best way to go about it. And so we are going to go ahead and attach this to our card base. But I think I want to stamp my sentiment first, just in case I screw up something that, you know, I know that my sentiment is in the right spot. So I am pulling in the Retiring Birthday Celebration stamp set. It's on the last chance list for $13.30. If you don't already have it, it is a really good one to have. It's got all the nice, the dies that go with it have all the numbers. So you can say, you know, happy 1st birthday, happy 3rd birthday, happy 20th birthday, whatever. But we're just using the stamp set today. So I am going to bring in my foam mat because this is a photopolymer stamp. And I'm going to stamp it down here in the corner, not completely at the bottom, but close. And there we go. So that worked out pretty good. All right, now I can adhere this to my card base. And you might be thinking you should use dimensionals. Yes, normally I would, but the way this card goes together, I'm not gonna. So we're gonna center this as best we can. It's being kind of a bugger. And I just realized I have not even looked at the comments. I do that all the time, and I hope nobody's asking me any questions. I feel so terrible when I do that. Okay, no, it doesn't look like there's been anything. Anyways, even if I did miss one, you guys are so helpful that it wouldn't matter. Okay, so now we're going to bring in our strips, and like I said, we're going to keep them in order. So we're going to put them so that they're right at the edge of the card, but they're separated a tiny bit from each other. And they're going to be like right at the edge here of the card. Something along those lines. So let me just go ahead and start here. I guess you could put dimensionals on these pieces if you wanted to. You know what? Maybe we will. Let me bring this in and see if I can get my glue off of it and go with dimensionals instead. Dimensionals might be a tiny bit more difficult only because you don't get a lot of play around time, like to position things. So we'll see how that works out for me. All right, we're going to take off all of those. I just got to make sure that I am still, everything's in order here. Okay, so I'm trying to line it up at the edge of the card and maybe about 3/4 of an inch from the top. I'm also trying to make sure that it goes across straight. So many things to keep track of at the moment. All right, so let's do another strip. Okay. Again, making sure that we didn't like accidentally flip it the wrong way. We want to keep the pattern flowing. And we're going right to the, oh, I just saw my phone did a little reconnect thing. I don't know what the heck that does that for. So if I glitched out for a second, I am terribly sorry. And then our last one will go right there. Is that straight? I feel like it's crooked. I mean, I would not be surprised. Everything I put together is crooked. It's just a problem. Yes, that's crooked. Does that look crooked to you guys? Is it just my terrible eyesight? I don't know. I don't think you can really mess around with it, though, just because of the way the card's made and everything. So we're going to go ahead and leave that in the event that it isn't screwed up. And I went ahead and stamped each color of leaf of this little leaf here, this little bubble leaf, I guess I'll call it, in each of the colors. And I'm going to use this. I'm going to kind of add this right here on the side. Actually, I think I might stick it over here. In my mind, what I should have done was I should have stamped my sentiment over here, but I wasn't thinking, obviously. Okay, so we're going to add those to the card. So let me just go ahead and do that. We'll put this one on first, and then we'll put these kind of around it a little bit, just to add a little bit of detail, a little bit of interest. Something like that. And then we're going to bring in some linen thread, and we're going to tie a little bow that we're going to like put at the bottom of that, just to kind of look like it's a little bouquet of leaves, I guess. And I do want the tails on this to be a little long, so I'm going to purposely have a long tail. That might be a bit too long, but it is what it is. And then we're going to trim this off. Okay. And then I'm just going to add a little bow right there. Same thing we did on the other card, where we're just going to roll that little tiny dot into a little log of glue. And I'm going to stick it on the back side of my knot. And then I'm just going to kind of throw that right there on top of my leaves, like so. And then I don't know what I want to bring in. I thought maybe these green dots might work, but you know what? We also have, if I can find them, these little purple and blue dots that also might be kind of fun. They are on the last chance list. These are called two-tone sparkled gems. And these actually might look kind of cool on here just because the colors in these match my color combo pretty darn well. So, whoops, get on there. Maybe we'll put a big and a small one up here. And then maybe a small one, maybe right here. Something like that. I need to get all this stuff out of the way. I've got a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, I think those actually are pretty cute on here with this color combo. I'm not mad about it at all. Then, for the inside, I've already done it. I stamped the happy birthday. And here's one of those strips that I was telling you that I was stamping on to see if I like that for the inside of the card. This is one of them right here. And then I just put a little tiny strip of the pretty peacock behind it just to kind of break it up from the, the white to the white. And then I added another little leafy piece there, and we'll go ahead and throw this on the inside. And we are done with this card. I just was so happy when I saw those strips sitting there. I couldn't believe it. It was like I was cleaning up my desk and I was just kind of putting things in, here and there, whatever. And they were all sitting there and I was like, wow, those 3 strips together look really cool. So anyways, here we go. We have 2 fantastic cards with the same color combo, but kind of completely different looks about them. So I thought that was pretty fun. So there we go. It is Thursday. I will be back here next Thursday, which what's the date next Thursday? The 16th. I'll be back here next week for some more. Maybe I'll do those Christmas cards next week. We'll just have to see what I feel like. But otherwise, I hope you guys liked these cards and you like this color combo. I love this color combo. I think it's so pretty. And I will see you guys here next week. Don't forget, if you want to join my team of demonstrators, I would love that. I would love to have you on my team. I'm going to change or put the link in the description for the modern Christmas class. I'll put that in the description of this video when I get done here. And then I guess I'm going to go up and make some food and go play with the dog. So I'll see you guys next week, and I'll have probably some dog updates. I'll let you know how the week went with him here. So I'll see you guys again really soon. Bye-bye, guys.